Hey, this is Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys, and I love the Grandstanders! Take it away, kid!
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight, so boys, let's get it started. I did not intend on starting with the Boston Celtics, but the news is so hot, boys, right now. You've got to. Okay, we kind of knew Kyrie Irving was going out the door, and we were okay with it, right, Russ?
Yeah, we got used to it.
Gone, but definitely forgotten.
No
right?
more walking on eggshells.
Yeah, right. Joe, we knew that, but the news coming out, and you got to give Steve Bulpett the credit. Last time a local media guy actually broke a story in Boston, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, he comes out last night, says Al Horford, Joe, is looking for a 4-year deal. Celtics aren't interested, and Horford's going to walk.
And this morning he says he's gone.
He's gone. That quickly. Yeah. Surprised, Russ?
Yeah.
Yes, very surprised. You know, we just sort of lulled ourselves into thinking that, oh, Al loves Boston. He'll come back for he'll
His
he
sister
won't
gets
opt
mad
in.
at us, but
He'll
right, the Twitter,
and he'll take some sort of a hometown discount.
Nobody gives hometown discounts.
I almost feel like Danny Ainge had a chat with Bill Belichick, and he said, "You got to draw a hard line." You know,
well, you can't do that in the NBA, or you'll end up.
I don't know, but maybe
Bill
maybe
Belichick ends up in first place.
no,
not last
but
place.
maybe they're drawing the line and saying we don't need to be paying a guy $30 million when he's 37 years old and limping up and down the court.
Look, the Celtics are a lot worse team
Oh,
without
I wish
Al
they signed him.
Horford on
I
it.
wish they signed Al Horford, but
It's a delicate balance, Russ, between the top team and the bottom team, right? And it's all about one or two players.
Plus, it wasn't like this. It was the Celtics' choice. It was an opt-out on Al's part. Al said no.
well,
I
it
don't
sounds
want
like
him.
though if we gave him 4 years, he'd stay.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think he's upset with the organization
that's
or
great
anything.
point.
I think
Yeah.
Tim's right. Had the Celtics gone in and said, we'll give you 4 years at $25 million a year, Al Horford would have stayed.
Yeah.
Right.
But-
So there's clearly a line over which Danny was not willing to step.
So do you think it was like, Al, we had a deal. You said 3 years was all good, right? And it was going to be
I'm
this.
sure
And
that Al
what are
never
you talking about?
I'm sure that Al never said that.
And his agent for sure never said that.
Why would you ever say that?
Yeah.
So again, there seems to be a disconnect between Kyrie and the Celtics, obviously. Apparently they're not even talking anymore. And another disconnect between Al and the Celtics.
And they're talking about Horford possibly going to Brooklyn.
Well, yeah, look. Basically, we're just going to look at Twitter one day, and all of a sudden they're going to just tell us, and we're going to be surprised.
Can I just say something, though? Kyrie and Al going to Brooklyn with a young, energetic team and a young, energetic coach. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, right. No,
But this begs
I see that
but this
movie,
begs to
yeah.
wonder
Been
if-
there,
if-
done that.
If Al is leaving the Celtics and staying with Kyrie, what does that say about what really happened in the locker room?
Oh, Timmy, there's not a look.
Look, he's
I don't
not
know
going for
much,
Kyrie.
But I don't know much. But Al Horford hates Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Wants to have nothing to do with him. If he's in the East,
So you
Al's
think-
going west.
What if
not
Al
a
shows up
chance
in
in this.
Brooklyn? I don't know. That's what they're talking about today
Not
all
a
over the
chance in the
place.
same.
doubt it.
No.
I highly doubt it.
I was shocked when I heard it. I got to be honest with you, but I'm just telling
Where
you what
did
I
you hear
heard
that?
on
remember
a
that
couple of the news stations.
What we said, about middle of the season, we said Al Horford hates this team, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait
It's
till
not
the
his
season
style.
ends.
But he didn't hate it before Kyrie was involved.
No, he
No,
didn't.
right.
But I think I'm sure he was taking a look at what was going down in that locker room this last year and saying, get me out of here.
He liked it when Kyrie was involved. It was when Gordon Hayward got involved that he didn't like the team.
So where does Danny go from here, boys?
Well, I think Danny's got to choose between reset, literally strip
Right.
it back
Yeah.
down again, and in that case, if Gordon rebuilds some value, trade him by the deadline, or the other direction is try to add another guy in. See if you can get Bradley Beal by trading a bunch of. We're going to have cap space now. The only positive benefit of Al Horford leaving is that we have $27 or $30 million of cap space. But what we don't want to see, I don't think, is Danny trying to have it both ways.
But we got to
I think
add
it's
7
binary.
guys.
You're either hitting reset or you're still staying in it. Don't try to do two things at once.
And where does Hayward, Joe, fit in all of this for the coming season?
He's the albatross around their neck. He's Pablo Sandoval in shorts,
Right, Timmy, are they going to, in Hayward we trust? Are they going to put all their eggs in the Hayward basket and say now that we have a healthy Hayward?
I am torn two different ways. Do I believe what my eyes told me all year and say this guy is he's just not a very good basketball player, or do I say I give him an asterisk for next year and hope that the guy that we thought we were getting shows up next year?
Well, as Joe said, he was the 4th highest paid player in the NBA last year. So now, no excuses. If you're going to be the star that you were in Utah, it needs to happen right
the
now.
problem.
It's already $68 million down.
His value is at rock bottom now. So the best thing would be plays well for a couple of months and they deal him in December or January.
Yeah, great point, Russ. Because
Right.
you're going to just get you're going to get a guy back who's the same
Get that
problem.
money
with-
off the
right.
books.
Right now, you have to pay somebody to take that contract.
Yeah,
You're
right.
not getting anything back other than cap space.
No, you're probably giving up a
giving up a
first round pick. Yeah, to get rid of him. Yeah, we're not doing that. All right. So much more Celtics talk. We have to talk about the draft. So after the break, we'll continue with the Boston Celtics.
They are going to own every cookout coming July.
Hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Trader Danny, first of all, we got rid of that at the deadline because he didn't do anything, including just getting guys off the scrap heap. Instead, he got R.J. Hunter. But, Russ, how much is Danny to blame for all the mess?
I think Brian Robb at Boston Sports Journal put it perfectly today, which is he said, Danny had a very bad run at the poker table.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So he got bad luck when Hayward broke his ankle.
Yeah.
He committed hubris, which a lot of gamblers do, at the trade deadline when he tried to have it both ways. He wanted to stock up assets, save assets to trade for AD, and still go for a championship. He didn't make a move.
Right.
And he went bust on Kyrie.
Yeah.
Right? So he gambled and he lost.
But
That
I
doesn't
also-
make him a horrible GM, but it was a gamble that did not pay off.
But I would say that the mistake was also made last summer when Rozier's value, Joe, was at its highest. Yeah. He should have got rid of him, and he didn't. And Terry Rozier was a nightmare this year.
All in all, the last year has been a spectacular failure for Danny Ainge. He's gone from competing in the Eastern Conference Final. Probably should have won that. The young kids kind of choked it away. And this year, to just a failure. And now next year looks like they're in real rough shape. I'm just holding out. I'm giving him one last chance. See what he does draft.
Well, I'm just glad we're not having to.
Tomorrow night, we one last chance.
I'm glad we're not having to swap picks with the Nets next year for a first round pick, because clearly the Celtics possibly with the
they could
right
be in the lottery
moves
next year.
could end up in the lottery, right?
Yeah, and who's the next big star to come through? But getting back to Danny Ainge, I have agreed with everything Danny has done. I think the poison pill was Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but who got Kyrie? Who acquired
I
Kyrie
know,
Irving?
but
Who acquired Hayward?
and I was all for everything that he did.
I know, but it's
I
a
was all for it.
results-oriented business,
It's a
Timmy.
spectacular.
But
I mean,
I-
just because you're there for him spirit-wise.
Are you gonna let me talk? You gonna let me
Go
talk?
ahead.
I don't think he expected Kyrie to be this psychopath that we got. This inflated ego, team-busting chemistry guy that he got. We were looking at what this guy does on the court, his talent, undeniable talent, but that guy just came in and threw gasoline all over that locker room and lit it on fire. I don't think anyone could have
But
seen
he's
that
still
coming.
responsible for you. You're responsible for your personnel, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kyrie had a reputation for being a weirdo. It's a bet I would make every single time. I would have signed Hayward. I think his mistakes were Rozier, which we were saying.
I agree with
year,
that.
And not doing it
Yeah,
at
you
the
did
deadline.
Rozier.
At the deadline, he did nothing to improve the team.
And
he
he
did
could've-
nothing because he
and-
wanted AD, and AD never bit on his stuff.
And look, getting Kawhi Leonard and not giving up Jaylen Brown, clearly a mistake, right, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, we can look back now and say everything, but I agreed, and I was like jumping for joy every single move he went with along the way. When he got Kyrie, I wanted
those
to
moves
throw a
reapplied.
dinner for him.
Yep.
When he got Hayward, I wanted to throw a dinner for him.
I know,
mean-
but look, there's the unemployment line.
what's
is
the
littered
com-
with
but
GMs,
what's the common
Timmy,
factor here?
have
You listen
things-
to the fans, you end
No,
up sitting with
but
the fans.
Kyrie did something to that locker room, which I don't think anybody saw coming a million miles away.
I don't think Kyrie did anything to that.
No,
locker
no,
room.
What?
I agree
Are
with
you
Timmy. Yeah, no,
kidding
there's
me?
no question. Yeah,
Stevens and Hayward did a lot.
What does
of-
government
he was
mean to you?
toxic.
I mean,
Kyrie-
this guy
Kyrie
was
was
Oh,
toxic.
yeah, he's a bum.
He was absolutely
but
toxic.
he's not the reason why that team went downhill.
Oh, I
No,
think the
he's a
chemistry
contributor.
issue of it was a
Contributor.
giant
Of course,
part of
he's
it,
your,
Joe.
he's your big
Oh,
star.
I say Hayward's reason, number
look,
one.
he's
Well,
your
Hayward
big star. He's
shattered
the guy
his
who's
leg.
supposed to. He's the guy who's supposed to bring you to the NBA Finals. And
No,
apparently-
and he caused all the problems with like Brown and Tatum.
He shattered his leg.
Joe, you can go with that on that. That Kyrie gets a free pass in this town, but you will be sitting there
will
on
be
an
alone.
island.
Yes,
you
you
are.
will be alone.
We're gonna
Oh
hit-
no, he said.
Listen,
Right, yeah.
I guarantee you this: the stories are going to come out one after another, after another, after another over the next 6 months. Kyrie, crazy, insane stories.
I don't think we have to wait that long. To
I know.
Yeah,
we got the first one today.
Yeah. All right, draft. If we keep the picks and we have 14, 20, and 22, a lot of it looks. I like their interest in this Tyler Herro
Pure shooter.
from Kentucky, Kevin Porter for the 20th pick, a guard from USC who could be a hit or miss. But I'm picking my 22nd pick. The Marcus Smart times 2 is Grant Williams out of
I think
Tennessee.
Grant Williams could be Marcus Smart or Jared Sullinger.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Go either
or James Young, your boy James
Don't
Young.
even bring that name up for me.
Grant
Marcus-
Williams, that's a good basketball
Marcus Smart,
name,
who can
though.
hit a three, I'll take that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's gonna be a fun night, Timmy. Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
NBA
think they're
draft.
going to take the picks now. You know, everyone said, well, he'll never take the picks, and he's got plenty of roster spots.
They got
open.
7 roster spots. They got to have.
You know,
Well, you're sure not gonna be picking any players for the Pelicans or anybody.
every draft is some hidden gem somewhere in the draft.
So that's my question. Will
The Greek
there
Freak.
be a surprise by Danny tomorrow night or not? What's your bet?
A surprise would only be a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
I'd say
Danny's
there'll
gonna.
be a trade 80-20.
I think Danny's gonna do something, and we're all gonna be jumping for joy over
I
it.
think I don't know if we're going to be jumping. I think Danny's going to do something that we never saw coming.
Is Ray Allen still around? Yeah. Because we never saw that coming, right? All right, I got to ask Timmy because you know how much he loves him. Could Terry Rozier, now that Kyrie is gone and Horford's gone, could Terry Rozier be
You know,
back with the Celtics?
I won this thing at the game where they brought me down and meet the players afterwards, and Terry Rozier came off the court and he pulled his shirt off and whipped it on the ground and just stormed by everybody.
Did you pick up the
does-
shirt?
He spit
You
on
know,
it.
look, if Terry Rozier wants to do that to me and gives me
Which
his
Terry?
jersey, I'll take-
Who is Terry Rozier? Is he this guy who wanted to compete so bad and he was just so frustrated with the role he was put into? I mean,
does he come back to me?
I think it's 75% yes now.
Russ,
Probably.
Joe.
I'll say no, just because. Got to have some chance he's no.
All right, All right, so tell me a surprise that's going to happen tonight. Can you think of a player that could end up in the Celtics 30 hours from now, Joe?
I'm not thinking of Danny trading for a player, but rather swapping around in the draft a la Bill Belichick, moving up and then moving back.
Russ, could we still have that?
Yeah,
could we
you
get
could
that move
package-
that Memphis
Theoretically,
pick?
you could package picks and get Bradley Beal or Drew Holiday. That's the kind of surprise that it's not likely, but it could happen.
Holiday'd be interesting. I hadn't done that.
By the end of the night, we're going to know if the Celtics are rebuilding or not.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
I think he's going to go character heavy. I think he's learned his lesson.
Yep.
He's
All right,
gonna
we're
go
going to
character heavy.
All right, you could be right. We're going to after the break. We're going to go to the Boston Red Sox.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool. Oh, yeah. Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Okay, Red Sox 40-35. Though we had a 6-game winning streak that was broken apparently at like 2 in the
Heartbreaker
morning.
last night,
Yeah,
though.
but Max and I hung out till like
God bless
12:45,
you.
and then that was it for me. All right, tied for the second wild card spot, 6.5 out. I just have to mention that against the Yankees. We're in a good spot right now for a playoff.
Leading
Well, maybe so, yeah. But it's still kind of
leading the
iffy
league in blown saves.
But Timmy, we haven't played our best baseball yet.
We
did
haven't. I think the bat's going to start to come alive. But I don't want to jump subjects here. But for leading the league in blown saves, that is what jumps in front of me.
Well, of course, yeah, absolutely, right. I mean,
Yeah,
we haven't lost every game.
Does
that we
that
blew
count
a-
as 2 blown saves last
No,
night?
we haven't lost every. No, make a point clear that we haven't lost every game that we've blown a save.
Yeah.
I think it's about a 500 record, but yeah, absolutely.
We're far enough into the year where, and the margin for error is low enough, where we can't afford to have bullpen blowups very often anymore, right? And it's now the biggest problem of the team because the other things have started to happen. The bats have started to come alive. The starting pitchers are back on track. Now you take a look at what does this team need? This team now needs relievers.
Yeah, there's
It
no
needs a
coaching.
quality closer. Like
Brandon
Timmy was
Workman's
saying.
on pace for like 75 appearances.
Yeah,
That
that's
can't
the
be,
problem. Yeah,
right?
and also their fifth starter has just he hasn't given them any innings, and that puts in the.
What have
bullpen
we had every year?
for-
We've had great years here. We've had that 8th and 9th inning guy. It's been pretty much this guy in the 8th, this guy in the 9th. Whether it was Koji, whether it was somebody. It's Folk.
Well, I mean, obviously,
Kimbrel. We knew, and 90% of the time those guys would come through. Once in a while there was a little burp here and there.
Yeah.
We don't have anything close to that.
I don't know any of his rotation. It's new every night.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see Josh Smith pitch anymore ever
He's
again.
just throwing the dice back.
Oh
there in
my
the dugout.
God!
Yeah.
He almost blew that lead against Baltimore.
They sent him down. He's gone.
Oh, for God's sake!
Don't you just wish for Timlin in the 8th, Papelbon in the 9th? You know what I mean?
Well, Barnes, Brazier, Workman, Velasquez, Brewer now is actually pitched pretty well, and
Yeah.
Walden. And then, Sale, Price, Erod, Purcello, Evaldi, and then you have Brian Johnson to, possibly do some relief and a spot start. It just, to me, screams, if you have a closer right now, maybe it could all come together.
Yes,
Russ.
because they have a pretty good core in that starting rotation. Everyone says, "Oh, wait, if they make the playoffs, they can use them as."
Yeah, gotta
but
get
they
there.
do have a decent core. This was Russ's idea last year. I'll steal it again for this year. If you add a 9th inning guy, everyone else gets promoted.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
And then gets in the
Brazier-
spot, Joe, that they belong.
Yes,
Brazier and Bryant
exactly.
will be better 8 guys than they are in the 9th.
I don't mind
Everyone
these
will be
guys
better.
in the 7th and 8th. I really don't.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that 9th inning, like Joe. Everyone gets promotion. Exactly. Well put.
And Barnes is not a closer.
That was Russ's
I don't think,
idea.
I don't think he's trying to ride the hot hand as a closer. It's kind of like playing whack-a-mole. You just don't know who's going to pop up next, right? So
All right, so the Marco Hernandez project has begun. Yeah, Marco Hernandez, who
like
we still
Marco
can't
Hernandez.
remember. We know he came from the Cubs a couple years ago. No, we can't for the life of us remember for who. He's a quality player. He was supposed to be when he
Was he
came
the
up.
player to be named later for Theo?
No. Oh, maybe he's right. Oh, that could, you might
Theo
be
won us a
right,
game then.
actually.
Theo won us a
I don't
game
know.
already.
That's possible, yeah. All right, so Marco Hernandez is going to stick with this team, which means one Steve Pearce, he's the MVP of the World Series, or my least favorite player in the history of the Boston Red Sox, Eduardo Nunez. One of them goes. Who goes, Russ?
I would think that Pierce would go first. Now you'd probably be able to trade Nunez. Though.
Yeah, that's
Nunez
what I'm
is
thinking.
gonna be
You
one of
keep
those
the one you
guys.
can trade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you think Nunez has value?
Yeah,
At
he's
the
a
trade deadline.
super utility player on a good team. I mean, guys like that every year get traded.
Yeah, I guess he had some clutch hits.
No
in the
one
playoffs,
wants
right?
Pierce.
But however, you're talking about us having a terribly weak bench. Nunez is maybe one of the only semi-valuable pieces on that bench.
No, the whole idea was that Hernandez would be an upgrade to me.
Well, that's
from
true.
Nunez.
That's true. I wasn't taking that into
meaning
account.
That,
Yeah.
when Pierce comes back
Yeah.
and Moreland comes back, guys are going to have to be dropped from the Raj.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Pierce, because I like the guy. You know, it's just a shame.
Well, he gave us
he's
that
just
great
lost
World
it.
Series.
Yeah, he's just lost it. It's gone.
Okay, so Rafael Devers is who he thought he might be.
Oh, my goodness.
And maybe even more. All of a sudden, the left side of the infield is set for the next 5 years.
That home run, that opposite field home run that he hit the other night, measured, I think, as one of the top 5 home runs to opposite field that a left-hander's hit in the last 2 years.
Wow.
458.
Is there a pitcher?
He's a baby bull.
Is there a pitcher or a pitch that this guy can't hit?
Well, look, that's a great point. Well, obviously he proved that there isn't because
Aroldis Chapman.
the Chapman hitting with the hardest pitch ever for a home run in the history of Major League Baseball.
Now, you asked a question earlier in the year, would we trade Devers for Chris Bryant? Would you trade Devers for Chris Bryant?
Well, first of all, Chris Bryant's having a great season,
Would
too.
you trade
No,
Devers
I
for
would
Chris
not
Bryant?
because, first of all,
Because
Devers...
he's shown it.
And he's younger.
And his defense is improved.
We probably have him on the cheap. I mean,
We
we're
do,
probably
yeah.
paying
He's
him nothing right
For
now,
another
too,
4
right?
years, too. I
Well, he's going to make some
It's
money
Jason
when he...
Tatum's age.
Oh, yeah, he'll get arbitration.
Really?
But, you know, it makes a big difference when you're budgeting for your team and then creating a starting 9 that you know that you have these guys in Xander and Devers set. And we haven't been able to say that because of the weak third base position for a long time.
He might be the best dollar-for-dollar player in the big leagues
You know
right
what
now.
he's doing? He's breaking the curse of you-know-who.
Of Mr.
Mr.
Jenny Dell.
Jelly.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
believe we
right.
have him right over
But
here.
you know, I dreamed of a right-handed hitter, but I'll take a left-hander who goes to the opposite field. I'll take it. All right, so JBJ. And again, nobody talks more about JBJ than this show. We can't help but mention him every week. And all of a sudden, for the last month, fellas, he has one of the top 3 OPSs in baseball.
Rising from the ashes.
Yeah,
JBJ and Mike Trout,
Yeah.
other than playing the same position, are in the same sentence for offensive
Yeah, but
production.
sooner, when we stop going against the AAA pitches of Toronto and
Oh,
Baltimore.
come on, Joe. Seriously?
No, I won't give
Well,
him
he's
nothing.
always been an incredibly streaky guy.
Absolutely.
Incredibly, like one end of the spectrum to the other. Nobody hits it like this guy.
So we're
does.
glad we didn't trade him. All right, so we'll come back from the break. We'll continue the Red Sox, and we'll feed a little Bruins and maybe a Patriots.
We got that on tape. by the way.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Okay, I don't know if you guys remember in college, they called it the sophomore jinx slump and stuff, and it just wasn't the same.
It continued for the rest of my life.
Alex Cora is, I feel like he's a different manager. And an example last night, so many opportunities in that 17th inning game, especially with Christian Vasquez up, to do something other than have Christian Vasquez pop up to second and right field with men on third and less than 2 outs. And he's not doing those moves, Joe.
Yeah, he's not as aggressive as he was last year. But I think a lot of that is to do with the personnel doesn't allow him to be that bullpen to speak.
But then we're talking about the hitting too. I mean, with that and stuff like that. He's not.
It makes him more conservative all the way around.
I think he's dealing from a position of weakness, but I think it is related to the bullpen in the sense that playing for 1 run isn't enough with this bullpen right now. He's sitting there saying, I might need 2 or 3.
Right. Even because if you have Hector Velasquez to come up there and he's your closer, Timmy.
He was quoted maybe yesterday as saying it's beginning to feel like last year. I think that's a mistake for him. I think he needs to close the book like last year never happened
Great
and
point,
give this team its own new identity and stop thinking about last year.
Yeah, well, when you're talk about poker, when you're a guy who had a poker run that Alex Cora had every time.
Straight flush.
But it reminds me of like trying to make a new girlfriend seem like an old girlfriend. Yeah. You don't do this like my old girlfriend. You don't do this like my old girlfriend. That never ends well.
Yeah, you're right.
You got to have a new identity.
All right, before we go to the Bruins, Fenway was voted the second worst bathrooms in the Major League.
Well, in Oakland, you have to go outside.
How about seat width?
Seriously, as if you would go to the bathroom
Nothing like the
in Fenway
trough.
Park.
There's nothing like the trough.
Nothing left the trough.
Yeah, we don't look
Pedophile's
forward to
favorite.
If anybody knows where the troughs are right now, we know it's not like they threw them out.
A pedophile's
I'm
drain those
happy
troughs.
to pay
Yeah.
big money for
Down
those
in
troughs.
Bolivia.
Probably, yeah, right.
the Osaka Day
With
Stadium.
the Bruins Stanley Cup champion T-shirts probably are right now. All right, go to the Bruins, and we'll be marveling about this for years to come. We talked about Patrice Bergeron and what injuries he had played with in 2013. Okay, comes out, well, we said last week, Chari had a broken sternum. Well, Nordstrom had a broken foot.
Tough to get that in your skin.
Yeah, Chara broken jaw, right?
Yeah.
More injuries. Have you ever seen in any sport, Russ, guys playing with serious injuries?
It's one of the best days of the year. Is the list, the injury list, the day after your hockey team gets eliminated, because it's amazing. Do you think Nordstrom just left his skate on for the 3 days between games?
Yeah, the swelling would get out.
right?
Get it,
Needle
right.
and numb it. And
But Timmy, these guys are also willing
Listen,
to take pucks.
I've said it
with-
before. You know, when I went into the Coast Guard, they X-rayed my feet. I had 16 chip bones in my feet from getting. And that's only at the high school level.
Yeah.
You know, God knows. Let me tell you, your body is brutalized by the time you get to that point, the Stanley Cup final. I don't know how they do it.
Okay, if we had to pick, Joe, who's tougher, football players or hockey players? And we have to pick.
Oh, well, we'll go with the hockey players because it's more up front.
There are football players on the field who are not tough.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna
Every
say.
single
Yeah.
hockey players.
Yeah, wide receivers aren't playing with anything broken.
These offensive linemen seem to they play with a missing foot.
Wide
You know, they
receivers,
will-
though,
I
are
would
tough.
put an offensive lineman up against up in the same category as a hockey player, and probably a lot of defensive linemen.
And linebackers will play with
Logan Mankins played a whole season with the torn ACL.
Yeah.
Whole season. Into the playoffs, too.
This is your opportunity to rag on Sony Michel. You want to do that?
If
'Cause you already
Sony
ragged-
would love to run behind him, though.
You know, just I think the playoffs are too long from a physical
I totally-
standpoint.
Oh, I
I
agree.
mean,
Tim, I totally agree.
Yeah.
They should make that first series 3 out of 5 and at least cut a couple of games.
Yeah,
out.
I
yeah,
agree.
they're just brutalizing these guys.
All right, well, we saw with the Red Sox bringing the band back completely. It
Doesn't
just
work.
doesn't work. Joe, are they bringing the band back for the Bruins, or are they going to make
Well,
some
I
changes?
hope I'd love to see him be able to get rid of Backus, Krejci, and get some relief there, and that's a lot of money there. But no one's going to take those two guys.
Well, could it be one of these deals, Russ, that where if you gave up a first round or second round pick, you might be able to dump these guys?
It doesn't happen that much in hockey. They can stretch them. They could just send them down. They may try to pay someone to take them. But I do think you do not want to just bring that exact same team.
I don't see Backus, who they sat in the last few games of the Stanley Cup Finals, coming out and assuming a regular role again next year.
Yeah.
And he's getting a ton of dough.
All right, so, Joe, Torrey Krug, stay or go?
Oh, I'd love to see him stay. He's the quarterback on the
So
power
you want him
play.
to stay, Russ?
He won't be, though.
If you can't get rid of Backus' contract, I think he's going to go.
Is Torrey Krug guy you can get something for?
I
and
think
if
that they
someone's
think
go-
Charlie McAvoy can do what he does on the power play.
Yeah.
And he's going to want top dollar, and I think someone's going to give him
Yes.
top dollar.
He's got a year left.
He's got a year left. But, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But his trade
No.
value is high
but
right
Timmy,
now.
you're right, because the team that's going to acquire him is going to want to sign him because they're not going to want a 1-year rental.
We would get a boatload for
If
him,
it's
I
the
think.
difference between bringing Johansson back or not, would you trade Krug?
I would keep Krug.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah,
What if you could keep Johansson and Nordstrom?
They love those offensive defensemen now. They
Yeah.
love them.
well, we know you need
Grizzly,
quality
yeah,
defensemen
yeah.
because they're most
Yeah.
likely to get hurt because, they get the most abuse. All right, we got to quickly go to the Patriots. And my question is, why don't they just give Nick Caserio the GM spot, double his salary? And seriously, Bill Belichick, do you really need another title or anything at this point?
Totally agree. Just give him double his salary. It's like $2 more million and a title. It doesn't go on a salary cap.
That's Bob Kraft's call.
I
How
totally
dare
agree with
you
that.
question Bill Belichick? No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean,
yeah, it's a
stability
mystery.
in the top,
Scotty,
right?
it's a mystery. It's a title. You know, we give our drivers the cards that say Vice President of Logistics, so it looks good in a bar handing it to the girl. Why not give the freaking guy the title?
But also give him the money.
Give him the
It's
money.
not- what does it
In
matter?
the scheme of the $1 billion that flows through that place every year, what's $1 million or $2 million to this guy who's doing a great job?
Do you really want your personnel guy pissed off?
Something clearly is going on down there in the front office.
People are leaving for no reason and no promotion.
Right.
They're leaving in a wholesale manner. We lost 5 coaches.
We've never seen that down there.
And they're leaving, not because they're getting promoted.
I know.
They're just leaving.
Yeah, for lateral.
And now they're
positions.
talking the scouting department is taking a hike.
Well, they may not be. The coaches may be a little disappointed with how the love of the Belichick children.
Well, the problem,
get.
yeah, he's out of
Well,
son.
yeah, you might be right there.
Well, he's got maybe some
Look
nephews.
at Amanda, his daughter. She could be the next.
She'll
guy.
be
You
quality
see,
control.
you see it in large corporations all the time. You know that the succession ladder, it's clearly defined who it is and why
And
should
you're
I
not
stick
getting
around,
there.
you know?
Yeah.
All right, we got to go, boys. Want to thank the boys. Want to thank everyone behind the scenes, of course. Handsome Todd. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com. And tune in again in 2 weeks for another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.
Here comes the circus.